Hi, it's KCCK's Culture Crawl. I'm Dennis Green, and my guests today are from an upcoming production of Songs for a New World, which is going to be at the James Theater. All three of you are recent graduates of Liberty High. Killian Ritland, who has been a guest DJ on KCCK and was working behind the scenes with us on the Jazz Festival over the weekend. Killian, nice to see you.
Good to see you, Dennis.
And Posey Stoeffler. Hi, Posey.
Hi, thank you for having us.
And Deuce Martin. Deuce, welcome.
Hi, thank you.
Say that again.
Hi, thank you.
So, and I should have gone through and talked about your different roles, but Killian, you're the music director.
I am, yeah.
And Posey, you're doing some costume design and also singing in the cast. And Deuce, you are the director, and this
Also
is kind
singing
of
in the cast.
also singing in the cast, and this is kind of your brainchild. So, tell me how because you're not associated, you're not a theater company per se. You're just putting this show together. So, tell me how the idea came about.
So at the start of quarantine, City Circle did a production of Songs for New World, and my mother was in it, and I did spots for it, and I was like, I have to do this show. And so I just started working on it and, writing my friends into the roles, and it just kind of all evolved from there, getting pit parts and, finding it all online. Totally legal, of course, totally legal.
Have you directed a show before?
I have. I actually directed my first show through the student-led program at Liberty with Posey, and that was Almost Maine.
Oh, I love that show.
Yeah, yeah. First musical though, and so it's an entirely different beast.
Oh well, we'll come back to that in a minute. So, Posey, you sing in the show and do costume design. So I guess, well, actually, before we talk about that, Deuce, we should go back and talk just a little bit about the structure of the show, because it's really more of it's not a musical that has a plot and cast and tells a story.
Yeah.
The songs are kind of individual pieces. Am I right?
Yeah. It's actually weirdly similar to Almost Maine, which just sort of a series of vignettes. And there are some returning characters, but most of the time you're seeing an entirely different story. So each song has its own, rich story, and there's so many different emotions that are, portrayed throughout the entire show.
Well, I'm sure that all of us have watched musicals, and some of them are great stories, and some of them are really thin stories that are vehicles for great songs. So kind of having to take that piece out of the mix,
right,
has got to, so that you can focus on the story inside each song. That's got to be both challenging and cool. Yeah,
it's definitely challenging, but I mean, I've just got such a great group of performers and musicians that it's no problem for them. So
now, Posey, let's talk about costumes just a little bit.
Yeah,
because it's not, one story. It's lots of different stories. So how did you approach that as a costumer?
Yeah, the costumes ended up being pretty simple. We wanted a base costume that was malleable to really any story, any character. And so just what looks good on stage. And then we have lots of accessories and additional costume pieces and props that are used to differentiate different characters. And so it was a pretty simple process, but again, the focus is on the stories and the characters as well as the music, which I'm sure we'll get to, but yeah.
So Killian, you're the music director, which means conducting the orchestra and also kind of working with the singers and putting them together with the orchestra. Have you done this before?
I haven't, so this is my first time truly conducting, especially within a pit. I've had some pit experience a couple years ago, but that one, it was actually the one Liberty put on, which was Shrek the Musical, that got canceled due to COVID. But this is my first true pit experience, and the musicians that I'm working with from both West and Liberty are all fantastic musicians. So I got the luck of the draw. So
Well, what is the composition of the orchestra?
yeah, so we have two violinists. We have a cellist, bassist, and guitarist, and we have a drummer and an aux percussion and piano, obviously. And it's it's a lot of people. I mean, even just last night, we went through rehearsal and we had to get a bunch of people mic'd, figured all that out, and it sounds really, really sweet in that space at the James. It's perfect. So.
Now, as a trombonist, you're leading an orchestra with no horns.
I am.
That had to be a little bit of a change.
Yes, it was. I mean, even simple stuff like, they don't tune to B flat, they tune to A. And knowing where, like, to even mic violins, like, I learned about you have to mic at the F hole and just all that stuff last night. I mean, just little things that is, it's so valuable for me if I ever continue to do more pit work. So,
Which I hope he does.
Yeah, he's incredible at it. So.
So we're staring down the barrel at your opening, which is Friday night, yes?
Yes, sir.
And so just this one weekend?
Just this one weekend. Yeah, you got to catch it before it's gone.
Okay. Well, we'll have that information here in just a second. Before we do that, though, I'm going to ask probably the hardest question. And that is, what is your favorite moment in the show? And I know that changes, and I know it's hard to pick, but just, pick out something you're particularly excited about the audience getting to see and hear. And Killian, let's start with you.
Yeah, so definitely, we had a long rehearsal last night, and we went through the whole show, and it made me realize that my favorite part by far has to be our samba tune, She Cries. We really locked in. We finally have our bassist, and the whole rhythm section was just cooking last night. I mean, it was right in the pocket, and it was just, I was jumping around backstage and just having a blast. And I don't think as an audience member you would show up and not be able to do the same. So.
Now, you refer to the orchestra as the pit orchestra and being in the pit, but it's really more kind of a virtual pit.
Yeah,
at the James.
Yep.
There's no sunken area.
Yeah, we're all behind stage, but it hits just as hard. I promise. So it's really good stuff.
And it's not every musical that has a good samba piece. So that was probably extra challenging
exactly.
for your percussionist and bass player for the rhythm section.
Yeah, I mean, we got blessed with a fantastic drummer, Milo Savage Webster, just fantastic. Our amazing pianist, Jonathan Chen. I mean, they're locking it in real tight. I couldn't be happier with those two. So it's amazing.
All right, Posey, putting you on the spot. What's your favorite part of the show?
There are some solo songs that I am just in love with, but my personal favorite parts of the show are any moment in our ensemble numbers when we're singing in tight harmonies. My favorite part is probably on the deck of a Spanish sailing ship, 1492. 1492. Long title.
That's
yeah,
Spanish.
yeah, that one. You know the one. But yeah, there are just some incredible a cappella moments, and of course, I love to be accompanied by the pit, but but I mean, because the pit is so incredible, those a cappella moments really shine as well. So,
Deuce, we should probably talk for a minute about the music, because this is the great Jason Robert Brown,
Absolutely.
who has been a huge force in musical theater for a couple of decades now. And were you familiar with his music in general, or any of his other shows before this?
I was actually really into his two-person musical of the last 5 years. There was a recent movie with Jeremy Jordan and Anna Kendrick, and and I was like, oh, this musical is so good. And then I saw that he has one with just 2 more people. Oh my gosh, how can it be worse? So yeah, it's an awesome musical.
All right, now as the director, what's your favorite spot on the show? Director or performer, of course, because you're doing both.
Last night we were doing some of the finishing touches on the lights, and the solo number, The Flag Maker, has just this really gut wrenching, moving moment at the end, and so I think it's got to be The Flag Maker. And Tatum Calderwood sings it just perfectly. It's insane. Yeah.
The show is Songs for a New World, July 8th through the 10th, right?
Mm-hmm.
At the James Theater, the brand new facility in Iowa City. I've been there. It's a great room.
Beautiful space.
Perfect sight lines, and you're right there to really be impacted by this show.
We're so lucky. It's the ideal space for the show.
It is.
Too,
It is
so
great.
we're really excited.
How do people get tickets?
You can go online at thejamesic.com.
Yep.
And or on Facebook at Jimenez Voice Academy. There should just be a link to the show.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, you're 24 hours from now, you'll be heading right to it. So I wish you the best of luck. Have a great weekend, and I hope and I'm sure that your hard work will pay off for this.
Thank you so
Thank you,
much.
Dennis.
Thanks for coming in.
Yeah, thanks for having
Thank
us.
you.
You can hear the Culture Crawl live on the radio many weekdays at 10:20, or download the podcast, watch or listen on your own schedule at kcck.org/culture, or however you get your podcasts. I'm Dennis Green, and I'll talk to you later.